and all of a sudden I feel a gush of water coming out. I was in the hospital at the worst time that you can be in a hospital. Like, I was in the hospital during COVID. I was in the hospital when you couldn't have no visitors, you couldn't have no guests. What do you mean he has a cyst on his brain? What's up, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Adriana Janae. If you are new, welcome. If you are not new, then welcome back, y'all. So today I'm going to be doing a story time of when my water broke when I was 27 weeks pregnant. Like, what? Like, yeah. So y'all, yes, and keep in mind this was about 5 years ago. So okay, we're not even finna waste no time. We finna go ahead and get into this story, okay? Because it's a good one and it's a good story to tell. All right, y'all, we're gonna go back to 2020. Back in 2020 is the year that I had my son. And actually I'm gonna go a few weeks before my water broke, so you can really understand like why my water broke, I guess, somewhat. My son, he's 4, he's gonna be 5. So back in 2020 at my anatomy scan, I had went to my anatomy scan, and you know, when you go to anatomy scan, like that's when they actually like really like study the baby like really heavy. Like they see like the brain, they see like the development, like they can see like really good of like everything that the baby is developing. So I go to the anatomy scan, and then a lady was telling me when she did the scan, she was just like, I think he might have a cyst on his brain. And at this point he was like 20 weeks. You know, they do it when they do that appointment at 20 weeks. So I'm like, huh? What do you mean he has a cyst on his brain? So at that point, that's when they sent me off to see a specialist. So when I start going to see a specialist, they had did like a detail, like they can do like, they can see it like more clear. But when I went to the specialist, they were just like, that's not a cyst, you know. I think he was really saying like, you know, like it could be, sometimes it'll look like something but it's not. It's basically what he was saying. So when I went to the anatomy scan, basically he was just like, you know, it's really nothing to worry about. But still, I still had to go to that specialist over the next couple of weeks, you know, so they could just keep checking his brain. But also when I went to a specialist, you know how they do like the regular ultrasound, like they didn't do that time. This time they did like the trans, I think it's the transvaginal one, like the little stick, like the long one, and then they put that up there. So then at one of my appointments, I know the nurse that was doing it at the ultrasound of the specialist place, she told me, she was just like, you know, you have a short cervix. And this is my first pregnancy, so I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I guess when like a woman is pregnant, she's supposed to have like a long cervix. So when she told me I had a short cervix, I was kind of confused because like I wasn't really understanding what that was gonna mean. But then she started telling me like different things. She was just saying, oh, there's a possibility like you might go into labor early, your water might break early. But I still wasn't like, you know, like when people tell you like risk, and it's just like for example, they'll be like, oh, you eat this and you know you can get like cancer. So I'm thinking like she just telling me the risk, like possibilities that can happen. I would have never expected that it was actually gonna happen. So like after I was seeing the specialist and she told me like I had a short cervix, and I think after that, within the next couple weeks, I had to end up just in case, they made me get those shots. I forgot what those shots was called, but if you had your baby early, then you know what I'm talking about. It's 2 shots that they give you in the back, like in your lower back, like close to your butt. So they gave me 2 shots, and when I tell y'all, them things hurt and it burned for some reason. But yeah, anyways, they ended up giving me those 2 shots to make sure, like, you know, his lungs could be developed just in case. Now we're gonna fast forward. We're gonna fast forward to a couple weeks later. Like, y'all already know, I went and I got checked and they told me that I had a short cervix. And you know, she was like, your water can break and this and that can happen. I wasn't really expecting that my water was gonna break. So a couple weeks later, this was April 2020. Yeah. I was at home on vacation from work. I was at home on vacation for work, and it's so crazy, y'all. Like, it's really crazy that I was at home on vacation watching the episode of Grey's Anatomy, and it was the episode of Grey's Anatomy when it was babies in the NICU. It was so weird. Like, it was the episode where I forgot their name, the two characters, when she wanted to work in the NICU and they was checking on babies at the time. This was like a older season of Grey's Anatomy, because that's when I had started binge watching it, when I first started watching it. So I'm watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm over here taking my hair out, and I'm also over here folding clothes at the same time. So I'm over here, I stand up, and all of a sudden I feel a gush of water coming out. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this? Y'all, tell me, why did my water break? My water broke, and I'm like, I was so confused. Like, I didn't even know what to do. I stood there for a good little second. Like, I really could not believe, like, my water just broke. I'm 27 weeks pregnant. It's nowhere near the time. The baby is not developed. 27 weeks pregnant. It's nowhere near the time. The baby is not developed right now to come. So I'm sitting, I think I ended up calling my mom. I told my mom, I said, I think my water just broke. And I don't even remember the exact conversation, but I think she would just like go to the hospital. So I ended up going to the hospital. But on my way out to the hospital, I ran into my sister outside. You know, I was telling her, you know, like, I think my water just broke. Like, I'm gonna go to the hospital. And she was just like, I think you should just call like your regular doctor. I'm like, they finna close. I'm gonna go to the doctor. Like, and y'all, and keep in mind, like, when my water broke, like, fluids were just constantly coming out. Like, it was just still pouring. Like, it didn't stop. And a fact, when I had my son, the day that my water broke, I never stopped leaking fluid until I had him. So basically, it felt like I was uncontrollably peeing on myself, but it was my water and it was just coming out. So keep in mind, like, I changed before I went to the hospital, but it's just like on the way there, like, I was still soaking through my clothes. So I'm like, I'm trying to hurry up and get to the hospital. I'm thinking I'm finna have this baby right now. I'm finna have this baby today. So I get to the hospital. I drove myself to the hospital because wasn't nobody there. And I go to the emergency room, and then I tell them, you know, I think my water broke and this and that. You know, they ask you 50,000 questions when you get to the hospital. I'm like, yo, like, my water just break. Why do y'all ask all these questions? So anyways, then they ended up taking me up there to triage. So when I got there to triage, the doctors had came in and they had did like this little strip thing, and she told me that if this strip turned a certain color, then that means this is your water that broke. So she came in there and she was just like, I'm so sorry, but it's your water that broke and we're gonna have to admit you. I'm like, y'all, I was not prepared to be admitted to the hospital, and I would have never thought that day that I walked into the hospital that I would have not been leaving for a month. I was in the hospital on bed rest for a month. Like, y'all. And then what makes it worse is when my water broke and I was in the hospital on bed rest, I was in the hospital at the worst time that you can be in a hospital. Like, I was in the hospital during COVID. I was in the hospital when you could have no visitors, you couldn't have no guests, nobody could come see you. Like, even my child's father, he could not even come in there unless I was in active labor. Like, he couldn't just come in there and sit. Like, I had to be actually gonna push him out. So after they told me I was gonna admit me, they took me to a room, And then, you know, I'm over here on Google like, dang, like, does this mean I'm gonna have the baby tonight? Like, am I finna have the baby? And then they end up giving me this, they end up giving me something to stop. Like, to stop it, to make sure that it don't happen. So, for 24 hours, I had to stay in the regular labor delivery rooms. And they gave me something where I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat anything. But I only could eat, like, clear fluids. So I couldn't eat. They gave me some clear fluids. You know, like, but it wasn't no real food. Like, y'all, I was starving so bad. But long story short, like, he didn't come. Like, he didn't end up coming. He didn't come when I was 27 weeks pregnant. So I ended up having to stay. They ended up taking me, after I was on that little medication for 24 hours, they took me to the other side. And the other side is like where you're technically supposed to go after you have your baby, but he didn't come. So I was just in a room, just sitting over there, you know, waiting for him to come. And then, you know, they told me that they at least want him to get into, they wanted me to get to like 34 weeks before they can at least induce me. Now, when they told me that, I'm like, I'm 27 weeks and y'all want me to wait till I'm 24 weeks. Like, y'all, that's a long time to be sitting in a hospital. Like, I was so freaking bored. Like, I literally had nothing to do. And this time I was actually in school at that time. Like, I took my final exam in a hospital. All I could do was look out the window, watch TV, be on my phone. I don't even think I was on TikTok at that time. I was not on TikTok at that time. So I was doing crossword puzzles. The social worker was coming there asking, like, do I need any crossword puzzles? I'm like, I don't need any more. Like, I'm bored. Like, I really want to go home. Like, I was even asking him, like, dang, like, I just can't go home and do this at home and just come to doctor's appointment. They were just like, no, it's not safe. So when I was in the hospital every day, they had to run these little tests on me called NSTs. And it's basically when they monitor me every single day for 30 minutes on the little monitor. So I'm sitting in there on those monitors every single day. Y'all, I looked a hot mess. Remember I told you, like, I was in the middle of taking my hair out. Half of my hair was gone in the middle. It was all out. I had these little twists in my head, y'all. I looked a mess. And she pushed me through this hospital. Like, when I tell you, like, I can't lie, like, I had some really sweet nurses. Like, they was really nice. But that's the only people I had to talk to. Like, they were super nice to me. So yeah, but the only thing, although I couldn't have no family come up to my room, like, I had people like dropping me off like snacks and like food downstairs, and then the nurses, they would have to come downstairs to get it for me. But after that, they really just wanted him to stay in there. So he ended up staying there all the way until I turned 31 weeks. When I turned 31 weeks, I remember that this day like it was yesterday. So after I had been in the hospital for a few weeks, it was one day I had went and got that NST. They monitored me that day. And I remember that morning, I was the only one in triage. So I overheard them say, like, she having a little contraction. But they didn't tell me that. But they sent me right to my room like it was nothing. So you ain't saying that I didn't say anything. So I end up, later that day, I end up starting to feel like pain in my lower back. And I'm like, what is this? I was just in pain. Y'all, now keep in mind, I was the easiest patient and they ever had. Even the nurses didn't say anything. Like, I didn't bother them. I didn't ask them. Like, I was the easiest patient. So I think when I started getting contractions, I still wasn't saying nothing to the nurses. Like, I still was just dealing with the pain a little bit. But it started getting worse over like the hours. And I think I had told the nurse something, one of the nurses that I had, but she didn't really say anything. You know, I was telling her how I feel. So I didn't even say anything because, like, she wasn't paying me no mind when I said that I was in a little pain. So then, long story short, when the night shift came in and they had came to my blood pressure, she was just like, your blood pressure is extremely high. Like, are you okay? Like, what's going on with you? I said, I think I'm having contractions. Like, I think I'm gonna go into labor. And she was just like, my blood pressure was through the roof. So long story short, they ended up coming to get me. And then they took me over to labor and delivery, and sure enough, I was in labor. And then later on that night, I had him at like, I think it was like 7 something. I went over there, and I didn't end up having him until like 1 something, like 1:19 is the time that I had him. And y'all, it was so crazy because that same day I had just got done taking my final exam. Like, what if I would have went into labor that day that I took my final exam? Like, y'all, that was crazy. Like, having a baby early, like, I would have never expected like that would happen to me, just because I have a short cervix. And it's kind of scary because, like, is every pregnancy gonna be short? Like, I mean, not short. Is every pregnancy gonna be like this? Like, am I gonna have nothing but Nicu babies, y'all? But anyways, y'all, when I had him, they took him straight. I'm gonna insert some clips and pictures in here as I'm talking. But when he came out, they immediately took him to the NICU. They put him in that little thing. Y'all, he had so many tubes and stuff in his throat. When I went to see him the next day, I didn't go and see him the same night. Besides, when they put him on my chest, I looked at him. And then when they pushed him away, I seen him. But after that, I didn't go see him that night. I went to see him when I wake up, because first of all, I couldn't even feel my legs. The nurse was trying to tell me to scoop on the bed. I'm like, ma'am, am I moving? She's like, you're not even moving. I'm like, oh. It felt like I just couldn't feel my body. I ended up going to see him that next morning after the epidural wore off. And yeah, like, he was in the NICU. He was so small, y'all. He was born 3 pounds 15 ounces. He was born 3 pounds and 15 ounces. Like, he was so small. He had all the little tubes. Like, y'all, that was a crazy time. Like, I would have never expected my first pregnancy to be a NICU baby. And it's actually a term that they call it, but like, yeah, like I said, it's a term for it. Hold on, let me look it up. Yes, it's called PPROM. It's called pre-labor rupture of the membranes. But yeah, that's what I had. Yeah, and breakage of the amniotic sac before on labor movement. Yeah, y'all. And also, like, when he was born, like, I was surprised that he didn't have no fluids around him. I think that's why they had to monitor me for the longest. Like, when he was in my stomach, like, he had no fluids around him. That's why all that fluid that I was leaking every single day. When I told y'all, like, I didn't stop leaking, when my water never stopped leaking until I had him, he had no fluids around him. So that was I thought that was kind of weird that he could still survive in there with nothing around him in the amniotic sac. Like, wow. But yeah, he stayed in the NICU for 3 weeks, and he was so small, but like, he did pretty good. After 3 weeks, you know, he slowly came off the tubes. Then he started eating on his own. Then they took after they took the thing out his nose, the feeding tube, he was eating on his own. And y'all, I tried to breastfeed. Actually, I did. I breastfed for him when he first came out, all the way up until he left out the NICU. And a few weeks after he left out the NICU, I had breastfed him, just because they was saying like breastfeeding NICU babies is really good. So I did that for a little bit, but breastfeeding was super uncomfortable. Like, I couldn't. It made me feel weird, especially a little pump. It just felt weird. So I ended up just filling him a week. And y'all, he finally graduated from the NICU. I was in a hospital from April, what was it? It was like exactly a month. It might have been like April 18th or April 17th or April 16th, something like that. And then he was born on May 17th. So he was born a couple days before my birthday. And y'all, when I tell y'all, that was a tough time. That was a tough time. So ladies, if you out there and you gonna do the same thing, like, it is going to be okay. And it's crazy because I didn't even know how common this was until I started working at a hospital. Like, how many women actually have their babies early. Like, my cousin, she had her baby early, but she had her baby way earlier than me. I think she had her baby was like 24 weeks, and she's big now, healthy. See, now I was lucky that he stayed in there in my stomach an extra month. So shouts outs to that. But yeah, y'all, I just wanted to come on here and just share my story with y'all, because I remember at this time when I was going through that, like, I was trying to look up a video like, what is P-prom, like water breaking early, having babies early, and I couldn't really find much videos on YouTube explaining, like, seeing other women's story about them having their baby early. So I was like, I'm gonna tell my story. And yeah, real interesting. But yeah, y'all, he's almost 5 now, and it's crazy because I had the nurses that be at the hospital be super sweet. I remember this one nurse, like, she was just so nice. And in Nicu, she was helping me get his footprints and all of that. And yeah, it was just amazing to be able to have him go home. Y'all, it's so crazy. What's also crazy is I was supposed to have a baby shower. I didn't even get to have a baby shower. I had actually paid for the baby shower, and I couldn't even have my own baby shower. I had to cancel it and get my money back because I ended up having to go in the hospital and be on bed rest. Literally. So if you a mom out there and you having your baby early, or you on bed rest right now, like, just know you gonna make it, you gonna get through it, and it's gonna be okay. And hopefully your baby is going to be okay too. You speak into an existence and it will happen. So you saying your baby is going to be okay, your baby is going to be okay. But I just want to come in here and tell y'all, like, my little story about me going into labor early. Like, it was just, that was crazy. And I'm low-key kind of scared to have another pregnancy because it's probably gonna happen again. I don't want to say that, I just said don't speak that, but like, I feel like it is, just because they told me that I have a short cervix. Like, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm always gonna have a NICU baby, but let's hope that I don't. But yeah, y'all, if y'all like this video, this story time, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in, and leave a comment down below and share your stories. Or if you had a NICU baby before, like, I'm gonna read the comments. So if you want to leave your little comments and leave your stories, like, I want to hear it. Like, how old was your baby if you had a NICU baby? How old are they now? Is your baby okay? Are you on bed rest right now? Like, let me know. Like, I want to hear your stories, because babies being in a NICU, like, let me tell y'all, it's not easy. Like, you know, the feeling of leaving your baby in the hospital while you came home. Like, y'all, I made sure, like, when my son was in a NICU, like, I made sure I went to see him on day shift and night shift, just so I knew both of them nurses. Y'all, I was at that hospital every single day faithfully. I had like a schedule. Like, I was going during the morning, I was going during the night. And you know, leaving your baby can be scary because it's just your child. So like, you don't really trust anybody. But when I tell y'all, I was finally glad that that was over and that he was able to come home, because woo. But yeah, y'all, that was my little story time for my channel, for the moms that's going through it, or even if you're not, like, it's gonna be okay. Your baby's gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay. And yeah, thank y'all for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on my channel. If y'all like this story time, go ahead and like. Stay tuned for my next one.